just it goes into an ether. Okay, I think we are live. I am so excited to be here with my wonderful graduate instructional assistant, Matilda, and this is Agency 7 taking us away with Publix and platforms. We are here for our very first social media show with this group, this course this semester, and we are very excited to be back again. This is MC4326, Advanced Social Media and Analytics. We are coming from the School of Journalism and Mass Communication here at Texas State University. This is one of my favorite parts of the semester. Are you excited, Matilda?
I'm so excited. It feels like it's been so long since we did it last semester, and it's just like, it's really good to be back. These are always so much fun, and I love hearing what our students have to say about topics, and then usually we get some fun audience members in the chat from kind of all around. So it's such a fun time of the semester. I'm super excited.
And we are coming in on this as a double header. So we had an 11 o'clock show and you are our 12:30 show. We're very excited. I can see a lot of our class joining in the comments. You can see people clearly, lots of people on YouTube today. Great to see you. Hello, welcome. Again, just a reminder that you can join from LinkedIn, Twitch, or YouTube. If one is giving you problems, just feel free to move over to another platform. What I would like to say is just like, have great energy. We always have great energy with this class. So just like bring it onto the live show as well. If you can post more like comments and statements rather than questions. I was finding that a little bit hard this morning. There was like maybe a little too many questions. So unless you have a really good question about what someone said, keep it mostly to like comments so that we can kind of like move in that direction, or questions exactly about the topic that's at hand, just so we don't get too derailed. Although we can get a little bit derailed, that's okay. It's always fun to kind of see the direction that these shows go. And I do know that this wonderful team, Agency 7, has an outstanding show in store for us. They have been working very hard. They've been asking us great questions, and they put together a dry run that was outstanding. So I am certain it's going to be an outstanding show with an outstanding group of people. We have in Agency 7, Victoria, Cam, Anna, and Brennan. Welcome. Really excited to chat with you today. I am going to pass the baton over to you, Brennan, for you to kind of kickstart our show.
All right. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the show. We're live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitch, so no matter where you're watching from, thank you for joining us. Today, we'll be going over platforms and Publix. We're going to be breaking down how social media platforms shape the way we communicate, interact, and even present ourselves online. Whether you're scrolling, streaming, or networking, you're always part of a specific public, and each platform creates a different kind of environment. Throughout today's show, we're going to start with some hot topics in social media, then move into a recap of key readings, and finally take a deeper dive into a real-world example that connects everything together. We also want this to be interactive, so if you're watching live, feel free to drop comments or questions, and we'll circle back to them since there's a bit of delay. And before we get started, I'm here with my team, Victoria, Anna, and Cam. And with that being said, let's jump right into the first topic, hot topics.
Hi guys. So yes, within the past couple of years, social media has taken on an entirely new role with relatability and just normal people being able to interject themselves into other people's lives. So recently we had the Winter Olympics, and Alyssa Liu, her story hits home with so many athletes, whether high school, middle school, collegiate athletes, or professional athletes who maybe struggled with sport burnout as well as eating disorders or strict dieting from constant training growing up. Her whole story just helps people understand that you can be successful without neglecting your body. Her journey shows viewers that they're allowed to quit something and then go back to it, as well as just reinventing their passion for something. Another recent media trend involving some burger joint CEOs was the McDonald's CEO. He basically did this marketing ploy where he bit into one of his burgers, but it was this really small bite that everyone's like, you actually don't like your product. And then basically this kind of caused a lot of other burger chains. So you have Wendy's followed up with their own video, Burger King followed up with their own video, just kind of them more enjoying their food. And even chains like Popeyes, which is like chicken, they like chimed in with their own marketing videos. Another recent hot topic is the Bachelorette cancellation. So, star of the Hulu series Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, Taylor Frankie Paul, was set to be the next Bachelorette. They filmed everything. She made her choice. She decided who she was picking. And then the week before the show was to air, her ex posted a video of her becoming like very violent. And so this caused the show to be canceled for this season. And this enraged many of the viewers of the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, but also people who maybe they're not quite familiar with that franchise, so they tune into The Bachelorette every season. And so this was definitely something that kind of sparked a lot of outrage. And so I definitely want to know from anyone like in the chat, was anyone planning on tuning into The Bachelorette?
I know that my mom loves watching The Bachelorette, so she was definitely really upset that she doesn't get to watch it this season. So I know it's definitely upsetting a lot of lives out there.
I was definitely gonna watch it. I'd been watching Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, like I love that show, and now they took away The Bachelorette from us. Yeah, that was kind of devastating.
Yeah, I've never actually watched The Bachelorette. I think a few seasons ago.
Never.
Never. I like clips, like here and there, but I've never watched it. But I have been watching Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, and so I was definitely going to watch it. And so I was a little sad that it got canceled. But yeah.
So the question I have though, because like I think the underlying message here is like cancel culture is a real thing, like with that small hamburger bite, and it was small, like it looked like you don't like your product, and then with this Bachelorette, do you think that we should be canceling people in this way? Is cancel culture just like inevitable, or is it something that we should be concerned about? That's for everyone. That's for everyone, not just Victoria.
Yeah. I think it definitely depends, especially with like cases like DV and anything like super serious like that. For sure, I think so. But also, like, I was reading tons of articles just because why not about this topic, and it was like the Bachelorette, like they knew how controversial of a person she was when they like chose her. Like she had previous like instances like this that like were reported. So it's like they kind of like dug their own grave with that one, I think. Yeah.
I wasn't familiar with her, but I kind of thought that that's why they picked her, was because they wanted the viewership, and this seemed to me like they would still get more of a viewership. But yeah, I'm curious. What do you think? Was it warranted, I guess?
I feel like with cancel culture too, it's becoming so like prominent, because I know even with other reality TV shows like Love Island, there was members also kicked off on there for stuff they had said in the past. So I think that yeah, it should be like a little bit punished, but I think we should also find a way to forgive them for it, because I feel like people get so stuck on it that they're just like completely forgetting that this is just an actual person too.
100%. Yeah. And then like kind of moving on, like I want like while there are plenty of like this is all like fun and entertaining for us because it's just not happening to us in real life. But there are also some darker areas, on the internet and like different like subcultures within the internet. So I definitely want to go over like some pros and some cons to this. So platforms have definitely created a number of positive outcomes. For example, like social media has just facilitated this global connectivity, enabling people to connect, share ideas, and build communities across all these different kinds of platforms and all these different kinds of geographical boundaries. It's also provided a platform for marginalized voices with activism, social movements, political things, and like all of those things. So a recent example of this is an ex-employee from a Whataburger restaurant. He went viral because he would film himself eating while on his break, and then he did eventually get fired from that specific Whataburger restaurant. And a lot of people speculated that it was because he had been seen praying in his videos while he was in uniform. But because of like he was fired, there was this huge backlash. So users of TikTok just rallied behind him, and there ended up being a very minimal Whataburger boycott. It definitely didn't affect them probably the way that TikTok users wished it would. But there was just lots of hate like on their social media pages, Instagram and TikTok. And so because of this, he was later reached out to and offered a job by Highway 55, which is a local burger competitor, and then a nearby Sonic. So he now works at both of those jobs, and he now does social media with the companies along with continuing his original content. So some of the cons would be just platforms have totally taken advantage of user data and infringed on the privacy. I know we talked about in our lecture about how, like, now what I'm seeing, like, in home today, like, I can post it online and someone else in my living room without having to be in my living room. But also, it's just encouraged just the overconsumption of digital content and goods. And then also, there's been the spread of misinformation or disinformation, which I know we'll touch on later in the show. And these things, it's just to get more clicks, to get more views. And then that's just how the spread of misinformation and disinformation happens. And then platforms have also provided avenues for cyberbullying and online harassment. Within the past couple of months, there was this trend. It was called "How Many Pumps of Blush Do I Do?" And basically how it kind of started off was this 4-year-old girl went viral for a Get Ready With Me and her mom. And she was putting on excessive amounts of blush, which, for a 4-year-old, people don't expect them to put on that much makeup, let alone for school. But her mom was just trying to have fun with her, in the morning. But basically what ended up happening was a lot of other people recreated the video, kind of mocking her voice, and then also the mother in the background of the video. Another trend from a couple months ago was the flip the camera trend. So this usually included a group of popular high school kids, including a less popular kid or a stranger who was just trying to be nice and help them record. And then at a certain point in the video, they secretly flip the camera so that it's showing the person who's recording, but it's unconsensual and it's usually used as a way to make fun of them. And so these are just some of the instances where cyberbullying and just people making fun of other people has just come out with the internet, especially with TikTok and Instagram. And so now that we've gone through some of the hot topics, I want to pivot over to Cam, who is going to be discussing the analytical side of things with content intake and then the regulation of it.
Before Cam goes, though, I think Valerie said something really interesting, which is I think cancel culture has blown up over the years. I think they use it as a marketing strategy. If you think about it, do people really get canceled? Most people who've been canceled still get brand deals. And so I kind of want to before we move to Cam, do you think that's true? Because I do wonder if canceling people actually brings out greater visibility of their name. And what are your thoughts on that? Is cancel culture a strategy?
I read that comment and it reminded me of another Love Island contestant that got canceled for this whole scandal he had with his girlfriend. And now he got resurfaced on the same network on a different show. So people are kind of throwing a fit over it because I don't know if it's brought him more fame or something, but now he has all these brand deals and he's on a show and stuff like that.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like every couple of months, someone gets canceled, and then a few months go by, and it's people forget, and we love them again. And so I don't really take cancel culture that seriously anymore, unless it's a really somebody did something really bad. But most of the time, it's just people disagreeing with what someone said or did. And so obviously people who agree with the celebrity or influencer will still stand by them and support them. And so that's probably why they're still getting brand deals and they're still garnering support despite being canceled.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm going to jump in on that. I see someone commented, Ryan, he said that Logan Paul got canceled, but is bigger than ever. And I actually was going to go into that because if you look at it, Logan Paul got canceled a while back for I'm pretty sure you all know what he did. And I honestly think it was just a big publicity stunt, the whole apology video. And now he's bigger than ever with brand deals like Prime and the whole wrestling stuff. And he's thriving after a so-called cancellation fully online, which when you hear someone's canceled, you're like, oh, they're done. And, they're not coming back. But a lot of people that have been quote unquote canceled have come back actually stronger post cancellation than before, which I just think was really interesting.
Yeah, I think this definitely because people like they'll make the mistake or maybe it was something that intentional that they did, but because like in our minds like social media moves like so fast, like you'll look at these trends and you're like, wait, that was actually like 2 weeks ago. But because of like all the content that we're consuming, like it feels like it was a really long time ago, and so people do tend to move on like really quickly. Like someone will get like canceled for like maybe a couple of months, but then they're keeping to produce like more content and more content, and so eventually you have this new group of people who are using this media and they've never seen like what maybe that original content was that person got canceled for, and so now they're like, oh, this person didn't do anything wrong, and just like media just moves like really quickly, especially with TikTok.
Yeah, really, really great examples. And Brennan, I appreciated your kind of explanation of that one example, because I think that's a perfect example of like, it should have happened this way, but actually it became a strategy.
Yeah.
Sue says cancel culture isn't a strategy by itself, but can function like one because controversy creates attention. And as we know, attention kind of drives what we see, what we like, what we comment with. So I think that's interesting. I'm going to pass it back to you, Cam. Sorry for derailing you a little bit there, but that was a really interesting conversation. So thank you.
No, yeah, I like that conversation too. But this next part, there's this article, Social Media and Society Platforms, Publics and Anti-Publics by Sue John. So this article is based on the research from a 2024 Social Media and Society conference, where they were discussing and debating the new emerging trends that you see throughout social media and the new research they found. There's a lot of different complex intersections of these platforms, from issues of ownership, datification, and business models, but we'll get to those in a little bit. So some of the main takeaways from this is that social media is in a transitional and unstable phase. It's in that liminal in between the meaningful interactions and the shallow engagement. And platforms like TikTok, Instagram, and X are constantly changing how we interact, from what we see as the norm on social media to what the communities look like. But since social media is constantly changing, there's both positive and harmful spaces from these groups. They enable communication and creativity, but also misinformation and toxicity. As you can see a lot with cancel culture and stuff like that, you get a lot of that, those anti-publics, which we'll get to in a little bit as well. So social media platforms are not just tools, but how we communicate. They're shaping our behavior, identity, and our discourse. So that brings me to, how do algorithms shape the way you see yourself or your identity online?
I think my algorithm like changes like multiple times a week. Like one day it's like homesteading videos, the next day it's like photography videos, the next day it's makeup. Like it's always evolving and changing, and I think like during certain phases of like my life or like my emotional state, like certain things kind of take more to home than others. And like it can kind of shift like the way I live my life for whatever that period of time is, which is very interesting. Like we're very influenceable, which is kind of scary, but
I definitely agree, Victoria. The other day I was scrolling and I noticed almost every single video I got was about this one subject. And I don't know if that's an algorithm, but maybe I stayed on a video for more than 10 seconds, and then Instagram's like, oh, he likes this video, starts showing to me again and again and again, and I'm like, all right, maybe I like this topic. Do I like this topic? Why is it showing it to me? And then it made me think, like, is the stuff we're seeing online influencing what we do in the real world, like certain trends and stuff like that? So I definitely do think algorithms can shape how you act and how you are and how you identify online.
So I stumbled upon in my algorithm a very particular kind of deception. And I thought it was interesting. I mean, maybe to some it's not, but the way it's framed is like they do tarot card readings. And it's all to try to like get I know you were like, what is she talking about? Tarot card readings. And because I found this so fascinating, like I watched an entire video and now this is blowing up my feed with content I do not really want. But that's also just making me super curious about like the different strategies that they're using to try to convince people to pass over money. And so I think that you're exactly right, Brennan, that like I never liked this thing. I never saved this thing. It was just, I watched it all the way through. And that was enough for the algorithm to give me everything I wanted to, or like everything it thought I wanted to see. I was like, I don't need more tarot readings, but I will let you share this with me. So I think it's interesting. And I wonder if people who maybe don't have the same kind of like critical awareness as you and your classmates may start to like appreciate what they're seeing as part of their identity more so than those who are like, oh, I recognize the mechanics of the why. And so I'm curious what you think about that. Like if you've seen your family or friends begin to kind of like integrate ideologies or ideas or concepts because that's what they're seeing.
Yeah, I'll jump in on that. I have a little brother who is now on social media, I suppose, and I've noticed now that he's scrolling and seeing all these YouTubers, he's gotten into playing video games, which isn't necessarily unhealthy, but I think seeing him do that solely based on he's seeing content creators and all these influencers playing these games, and he's like, I want to start playing those games. So I definitely noticed because I went to visit him over spring break in Colorado, and he was on his little computer playing all these video games. I'm like, you weren't doing that the last time I was here. And he was like, well, my favorite, YouTuber, my favorite Instagrammer is doing it, so I want to do it. So I definitely think that especially it's really influential on younger ages, but what you see online can really influence what you do and how you change your personality and stuff like that.
I also like the point that Jaden pointed out is that it gives you your niche for the week or your next vocal stim. Because I feel like that's become so popular, vocal stims, and everyone's pretty much becoming the same person because we all have the same vocal stim just because it's popular and trending. But it's also what's feeding into our algorithms, making us that way.
I love how Joshua says my algorithm definitely helps me decide what I'm eating for dinner. And I noticed like whatever my whim of the week will take over my algorithm. So like this week I'm planting things in my garden and it's just taken over my feed. But next week it'll be something else. So I think, being aware that like what we're looking at is definitely going to feed us more of it is really important. But what is the danger in that? What do you think?
I think it definitely doesn't allow us to be like our own individual person and like contribute like to society in a productive way. Like if you're constantly like that's very expensive, like to constantly change your hobbies or like constantly like change just like your whole lifestyle every once in a while. And I think this definitely like feeds into consumerism. It's because we'll see something like on like a TikTok scroll and we're like, oh, that girl has a really like cool lifestyle that she lives. And then we like maybe try to adapt our entire lifestyle to that, and it's not sustainable. It's bad for the environment to constantly like change your just entire lifestyle like that. And I think it like seemed like there's some people, they have like 50, not 50, but they have a large collection of Stanleys, and it's like, do you really need that many water bottles? You don't. You're just like aiding to this overconsumption, and like the landfills are overflowing and everything. Like it's insane.
Have you noticed how like videos about like de-influencing people have become popular? How like they're like, let me de-influence you on this and this. Like you don't need this actually, and like this is actually not as great as like people are saying. Like I think it's like I need that balance. I need somebody to tell me that I don't need all these things because I'm like so easily influenced to buy things I see on TikTok.
A core part of the de-influencing strategy seems to be don't buy this, buy that, though. And so how much de-influencing are you doing when you're actually
so true?
You're still influencing. Sorry, Matilda.
No, you're so right. I mean, also like what's the motivation of the people who are doing the de-influencing videos? Like at the end they're making money off their videos and stuff like that too. And then their next video probably is gonna be like, here's what to buy instead.
They do, and they even have links to the products you should buy instead. So it's not like they're making money just on the video. They're also making, royalty fees back from all the products people are purchasing. So I think this is such a fascinating kind of like aspect of influencing. But to go back to who was talking, was it Cam? Yeah, Cam had been talking about this sort of like it becomes your identity. And so I kind of wanted to go a little deeper into this, like what do you mean it becomes your identity? So we see like, for example, like the trad wife or the cottage core kind of versions of feminism, or like super toxic hyper masculinity in certain like manosphere cultures. So like at what point is it influencing someone's identity to the point where they like feel like they're part of that community? Or is that just like a personal choice? Like where's the line between like the algorithm is encouraging this, or now you're in this, like let me tell you, I'm in the tarot card community now, and like I can do a research project because they've all been fed to me just from watching that one video. But the point I'm trying to make is like how much of it is people's decision to like identify with that identity, so like the performance of that identity culture, and how much of it is the algorithm saying like, you should go in this direction. I'm curious what you all think. Or maybe it's like a split.
I'll jump in. I think it's definitely split, but I would say that the algorithm is way more influential on what you want to see. Because like, again, if you stay on a video for just, a little bit longer than normal, it just starts showing you video after video. And like with the tarot cards and videos, I'm not sure what that is, but
don't go search it up.
I don't
want it in your feed.
I'm curious now. But stuff like that, you're not necessarily like, I want to just start seeing all this stuff online, but you might be curious about one video and then it starts thinking, oh, they want to see this again and again and again. So I would definitely push more towards the algorithm is what's shaping what you see rather than what you want to see.
I've read some interesting articles about how like especially young people, they kind of like almost like train their algorithms to be what they want it to be. Like I mean, I do it too sometimes. Like if I find something, I'm like, yeah, I love these videos, I want to see more of them, I'll go and like I'll like it, I'll save it, and I'll do like everything like in my power to make sure that it starts coming on my algorithm. Or especially if someone posts like a part 1 of a video and then I go to their profile and the part 2 is not up yet, and I'm like, okay, I'm banking on the algorithm to bring me back to part 2 when it's out. And then I'm like, I'm gonna like this video and watch it for like a couple of times to make sure that I'll get it later. So like we do have some power over the algorithm too, with how we interact with the videos and how we interact with them and what we kind of do with them. So it's kind of a balance too.
Do you think that's because we're aware that we can? Like, do you think the average 12, 13, 14-year-old understands that?
Probably not that young. I mean, probably you shouldn't be on TikTok either if you're that young. but
they are. Right? Like, it's like, yeah.
I don't think when you're that young, you even realize what the algorithm is. Like, it's like such a big word when you're that young. But probably when you get to high school and stuff, you start like seeing the patterns of like, oh, the more I watch this one video, the more it's showing up. And like, even if you like haven't heard about the algorithm or what it does, you start seeing the patterns and understand it, I'm sure.
There's some really, really good comments going on, and I just feel like we should jump up and acknowledge a few of them. Jaden says, I've been down a rabbit hole on those claim your money energy now. Yes, you know exactly what's showing up for me. Most social media algorithms are designed to keep you in the echo chamber of people that share your same interests and beliefs as you. Agree, disagree? What do you think?
Yeah, I was going to bring up that the algorithm does keep you in these echo chambers. So like, it's like you're building your personality. And like, at the same time, if you like start to lose interest, there's like other people like in the comments, or be it the influencer or creator you're watching, who like kind of keep driving these ideas into your head. And so it kind of keeps you there where you're like, oh yeah, this makes sense. And all these other people also agree with me. And like, we're all alike and we all think like this. So it makes you like feel like you're part of a community in a sense, and it builds your identity.
Speaking of like identity and everything, the article also talks a lot about how the platforms are now transforming into from a network society into this platform society. So we're going from these actual like human connections and interactions to something that's more controlled through monetized interactions. So pretty much anything like our likes, scrolls, and posts are analyzed and sold to shape our experience. So that's why we do get these structured algorithms that are pretty much making our identity. They shape how we see ourselves through data visibility, meaning that our online identity is through analytics, our engagement, and our algorithms. So this is bringing up the publics and anti-publics, which a public is just the communities that are formed, but these anti-publics are also communities that are formed to spread harm and misinformation. So let me see. So our platforms becoming into these anti-publics function, they extract our data and prioritize profit to amplify division. So I wanted to ask, where's the line between harmless internet culture and harmful anti-public behavior?
I'll actually jump in on that. Something I've noticed with a lot of young men and women nowadays is they see certain creators posting these very unrealistic ideas. Oh, my camera's glitching. My camera glitching? No, there we go. These unrealistic ideas of like what your body should look like, which I think is a very harmful side of, TikTok and Instagram and all these short form videos. Like you can be scrolling and you see all these gym influencers with these crazy physiques, and then it gives you this super unrealistic, especially at a young age, of like what I'm supposed to look like, and oh, I'm not doing good enough because look at these people. And it really just reinforces this whole body dysmorphia onto a young age. And I've noticed, not with anybody close to me, but some people end up, taking steroids or doing certain things that are incredibly harmful to their bodies at such a young age to try to get this appearance that either takes multiple years or, to get to a certain point, which can be done with things like enhancements, which is just not realistic. But people feel like they need to be up to the standard because that's all they're seeing. So they're like, if everyone looks like this, why do I look like this? And I just think it creates a very harmful side of short form videos and just being online in general.
I agree with that. I've been seeing a lot of things about peptides and how this thing of peptides is becoming a trend, especially for younger people. Even if it's not just about like losing weight and stuff like that, it's even just about tanning. So I just think that some of this misinformation is being spread and it could also be intentional. And I know with like our culture now, like all the shots and stuff you can take for fat loss are trending. I've seen, especially like the Row ads, so many celebrities endorsing it. And I just feel like it is healthy for some individuals, but with it spreading so much, it's almost become like a toxic culture because it makes everyone think that they need to look like that or it's wrong.
You do have some great responses here. Joshua says, I think most internet communities tend toward echo changers due to their algorithmic enforcement, and the culture can be harmful due to communities like the manosphere and looks maxing mentality. Yeah, absolutely. What do you think about? Oh, I agree, but what do you think?
Yeah, I'll talk about that, Joshua. I definitely agree with you. I think going kind of off what I said, the whole looks maxing stuff, especially for younger people, they see these things like, whoa, if that's the standard, I need to get up to the standard because I don't want to get bullied for my looks or stuff like that. And I'm not sure what Manosphere is, but I do know what the looks maxing trend is, and I do think, especially for younger audiences, it can be incredibly harmful. And not even them physically, but mentally, they can be like, I don't, they get this false expectation of what people are supposed to look like. And if they don't look like that, it can cause depression, stuff like that, and younger audiences and even older audiences. And so I think that can definitely create an unhealthy environment for a lot of people.
Yeah, it also just, oh, you can go.
No, you go for it.
I was just gonna say that, like, I think kind of like to Brennan's point, like it just kind of creates this like mindset where you're like constantly trying to be perfect, and then like you beat yourself up about it. But like that perfect for like that person's body is not necessarily the perfect for your body, because we all have different bodies that like have different enzymes, like different genetics. Like you can't look at like someone else and be like, oh, that's like how I need to look. And I think like with like trying to be perfect, like you do end up burning out, and it does end up becoming very unhealthy, just because I know there's plenty of people who've like developed eating disorders like anorexia and like BED and binge purge, and just like because they're trying to like adhere to this standard that doesn't even would never even like work for them because of their body type, instead of focusing on like actually just living like a more healthy lifestyle and like being more active and like maybe not eating as many processed foods and like getting certain amount of steps a day, things like that.
I agree. That takes me into the next point that was also made within this article, is how algorithms are continuously shaping us, everything from who we're connecting with based off the content that we're fed. So there's this idea of a algorithmized self, shaping our identity based on what we're seeing, what performs well, which reminds me a lot of how influencers and social media strategies actually do this, because they want to grow their content and base, so they're going to shape their identity to what is performing well for them. We're not just expressing ourselves, but optimizing ourselves for the algorithms. It's complicating the interactions with our networks and interpersonal connections, like on Facebook. Like, depending on what you're looking at, more of your friends might not show up because of the stuff that you're interacting with. But I wanted to ask, are social media platforms still public spaces, or have they become primarily corporate controlled environments?
That is a good question. Who wants to jump in?
I'll jump in first. I do think the public has a little bit of leeway, but in terms of corporate control, I do feel like you see a lot of not only like false standards that should be pushed on you, but also products that get pushed on you. Like Victoria, I believe, was saying the Stanley water bottle. I don't know if that's a whole ad stunt from Stanley, but people see these ads and I'm like, oh, I want to buy that now. So I also think it ties into ad endorsement and how seeing things online and all these creators having it makes you want to have it as well. So I think it probably does tie into a company playing a role into what you're seeing, which I think is interesting.
I want to say like they're not primarily corporate controlled yet. I think we might be heading there. But it is like strange to me that a lot of the ads that we get are like formatted in a way where like it kind of like clickbaits you into thinking this is going to be like somebody's like get ready with me, or like somebody just like casually showing you like a part of their day or their routine, and then they like present you with a product and you're just like, oh, this is actually an ad. Or like they'll like sneak in their sponsorships into their like normal content. And so I don't know, like I think like at that point it just kind of feels like they kind of lose their authenticity to me is when they like present an ad and it's like formatted in a way to make it seem like relatable and like this is what they do in their day-to-day life when they're really just getting paid and earning commissions for this product.
So interesting to bring that up because so where I'm from in Finland, they just had this like whole big thing about the first line of your caption needs to say that it's an ad or that you have gotten these products and stuff like this. So it's becoming more and more regulated. And I think it's really good that like we're being more like it's more transparent that it's an ad or that they've gotten this product or they're getting paid to promote this product and so forth. Because then you don't feel so tricked kind of when you get to that point and you're like, oh, this product was like they got it for free or something like this. So like the more I appreciate the influencers who like clearly say that I got this product or I get paid to like promote this product because then they seem way more authentic to me. I don't know what you guys think.
No, I definitely agree. A commenter, Stephanie, said, everything, regardless of how we think is corporate control nowadays, companies endorse celebrities and influencers to get you to spend. And I think corporate and companies don't necessarily, they're not posting, like you don't see Amazon posting like, hey, I'm Amazon, but they get people like celebrities that I forgot what word it is, but I think it's like celebrity advertising, which puts an influential figure in front of you. And that makes you, more trustworthy and trusted towards them. Like you were saying, people would rather buy something that they trust and from a trusted person rather than from somebody who's just throwing a product at you like, hey, buy this. This is good. But yeah, if you get celebrities and all these people that you see posting about this product, it's going to make you a little bit more influenced to purchase something or change you or your personality in that sense.
Just to build off of what Brennan is saying, I don't even think it's just celebrities anymore because a lot of these companies have like ambassador programs. So Amazon, for example, has an ambassador program. And if that gets into your algorithm, you're going to see nothing but Amazon influencers who are doing nothing but hawking product. And it's on every category imaginable: menswear, women's wear, beauty, household, seasonal. It's its own beast. So I do think there's like this sort of like interwoven connection between a lot of these major corporate giants and these social media platforms. I think at the end of the day, social media platforms have always been corporately owned and economically motivated. And so I say that, with an asterisk of like, I recognize that we used to do things like share our food or like, kind of like these more like banal and mundane activities, or like it was really about connecting with our high school friends or our family members. But at the end of the day, these platforms are really interested in how do I make money as a platform? And so that I think is the motivation. So if we think about that, I think it becomes easier to understand that like they want you to have some agency over the kind of content you receive and see and experience in your feeds or your For You page. But at the end of the day, it still needs to make the platform money or they're not going to show it to you. And so I think it's like this fine line of like, yeah, you can change the track of an algorithm. And I've seen this done brilliantly. Maybe I've told this story in class, but I was working with someone and they did nothing but follow all the news accounts on TikTok, and their TikTok was brilliant. It was nothing but news. That's all they saw was the news. And so I think we can do that if we're doing so really intentionally, as we've spoken about early in the semester. But at the end of the day, these are profit motivated, profit generated entities. That's my take.
I like Kennedy's point about how sponsorships are supposed to be made clear if they are a sponsorship, but recently creators are earning this commission and it's almost invisible. I feel like a lot of influencers, especially on like TikTok and everything, are, even though they may be like an ambassador for this brand, they show their products a lot, even if it's not a full sponsorship in that video, but just to get you to buy it. Especially, I know with a lot of like outfit of the days and stuff like that, a lot of influencers use those. So you actually shop those clotheslines.
And I mean, honestly, who's keeping these like influencers accountable for always disclosing this like sponsorship and stuff. Like, if you don't know, how are you going to catch them with that? So they like, I wonder how many videos I watched where it doesn't say anywhere that this was like sponsored or something, and I've just watched it and thinking it's like just their genuine reaction to this product or something like that, because we'll never know. I guess
I think because it is regulated, so anyone who's making money from a brand has to put that tag, and they are required to report that as income. So I think that's like, that area is probably not as disturbing as the like, I get royalties, I get 1 or 2 or 3% if you go buy this. I think that's the area right now that I'm noticing that's like this gray area where it's like, you are definitely hawking product, but not being super transparent about it.
Yes, I think Amelia's comment like is right on point. She says people are forgetting about affiliate links. They are the main way influencers make money without disclosing sponsorships. I know there are so many like lifestyle creators that they have like those affiliate links, and like how they make money is like, as long as you click on the link and you order it like through that link, they get a payout from that. Whereas like if you were to go to Amazon like by yourself and just search for it, they wouldn't make money off of it. Like they make their money like off of you clicking on that specific link that they give you. And I think like with that, they're not necessarily like supposed to disclose like, oh, this is a partnership, because it's not really a partnership. It's just an affiliate program that like for promoting this product, they'll get, but it's not like they're getting paid for this specific post. But it's like, I think most people call it a like to know. And I know like a lot of like running influencers have that, or like some fashion influencers have that as well.
I think next in this article, I want to talk about some of the studies they did. There was actually 2 studies that really stood out to me that talk more about like this anti-Publix but also social connections. There was a Black Twitter study which showed how marginalized groups were building community and protecting their identity, but at the same time were faced with harassment and platform instability due to the hate speech and disinformation spread. There is also a based study showing how that platforms are also amplifying misogyny and online harassment. There was a study based off a Chinese platform where there were words such as feminism, fake feminism, and that were used to destroy the Chinese Communist Party. So they're simultaneously empowering communities while enabling harm. And then I just want to pose this last question is, what responsibility do users have in shaping healthier online communities?
This is not very common. I think only when people get like highly offended, but like hitting the report button, because in all realness, how that whole process work is like a report gets submitted like to Twitter or to wherever, and then the company like looks into it, and if they decide to take that content down, the person who posted it, if they're like, wait, that's so unfair, they can like go in and like try to like fight that accusation. And so I think like to help like form these spaces, like if you see something that's like, instead of like, oh, just scroll, like forget about it, like actually reporting it. Cause like there are some like seriously harmful things out there that like a 12-year-old doesn't need to happen upon like while they're scrolling.
This is a bit of a hot take and you might disagree, but I try to apply the same rule that I would in real life, which is that if I wouldn't comment to your face, I'm not going to leave a comment. And I think the internet would be such a better place if a lot of us just decided to keep scrolling instead of commenting. Because sometimes the comments just get so hateful or nasty unnecessarily. It's like, we don't all have to agree. And so like, this is my my personal stance is like, if I don't agree with you, I'm not going to leave a comment. I'm just going to keep moving. And I think, recognizing that these are people, because I think sometimes we lose that. Like, would you say that to a person to their face? I guess is the question. And I think a lot of people online wouldn't say the things that they say to a person to their face. And so that would be my like PSA of like, just keep scrolling.
I think so too, especially with like the prevalence of like alt or spam accounts or like on Facebook, how you can post anonymously. I feel like it's almost people take control over this aspect and just leave comments even though they shouldn't be saying those things too. So I definitely agree with that.
Jaden has a different take. He says calling people out. I'm like, I totally get that take, especially if they need it. But I think most of the time the internet is just on different opinions and like move on.
I think that ties into like the cancel culture too, is that especially like a lot of like with Taylor Frankie and everything going on, like the comment sections are filled with all these comments of calling her out. So it's at a point of, to what point do you think it's enough?
There's so many comments coming in. But yeah, great point, Cam. And someone says a lot of people online take it as a chance to say things they want to say because they have a screens barrier. I agree with the report button, but unfortunately, some of these companies are tolerating the intolerable. What do you think about that? Like, you report something, but it's like nothing is happening.
I think it's like one of the most disappointing things because like I've definitely like I do report things if I see something that I'm like, oh, like that's why is this public and why is Instagram or whatever platform I'm on allowing this? And I don't know, I feel like we should be able to hold people accountable, and the company should also like I don't know, like let us have a little more power with that and not just have to like sit through a review process where like nothing is going to happen and the only option you have is to block the person, and you know they're going to like continue to be online and spread whatever hate or misinformation they're spreading.
Great point, Anna. Brandon says use the report features and keep scrolling. Another comment will only make it worse in most cases. I agree. Let's move this along. I believe, Cam, if you want to wrap it up or just move right over to Anna.
Yeah, we can go ahead and start moving on to Anna's section.
Okay, so I'm gonna be reviewing Crystal Abenden's article, and she starts by building on the concept of networked publics, which describes how social media platforms create public spaces where content is visible, searchable, and easily shared. And she argues that modern internet users don't just use platforms as designed anymore, but they're also strategically manipulating them to control who sees their content and how it's interpreted. So she argues that social media isn't just a public space anymore. Instead, people have created refracted publics, spaces where messages are shaped so that only certain audiences understand them or see them. And this happens because of a few conditions of online communication, such as transience, discoverability, decodability, and silosociality. And to briefly define those, transience is online content that moves really fast and disappears quickly, like Twitch or chats where messages constantly scroll and vanish. Discoverability is self-explanatory. Content is hard to find unless the algorithm shows it to you. So, for example, streamers might rely on TikTok clips to help people discover their channels. And decodability is content can be taken out of context or misunderstood, like clip videos that make someone seem like they said something they didn't. And silosociality is when online communities develop their own language and references. So content only makes sense if you're part of that group or community. So think like slang or acronyms like LARP. And because of these conditions of refracted publics, a lot of online communication is tailored to certain audiences, which raises some interesting questions. Like, is hiding meaning online, like inside jokes or coded language, a form of creativity or exclusion?
I feel like it could be a form of creativity just because once you do get in those different communities, that's kind of like the lingo or like different terminology. Like if you know different, like I guess like brain rot and terms like that, is understanding those. So it's definitely could also be like a generational thing. I feel like Gen Z, Alpha, and all of them come up with a lot of these terms that might not be as familiar with like millennials and older generations. So I feel like it could also be like an exclusion, but it's also just more of if that algorithm fits your part.
I have 2 Gen Alphas and they don't speak English. They speak Riz, Skibbity, Ohio, 6, 7. There's all these new numbers too that I can't keep up with. So I do think that can be like a form of building online community, or even physical community. So I think it is like a form of bonding when people like get the in language. And I think that's true for all age ranges. If you get it, you're like, I'm in the in club. But I think that it can also then allow for anti-publics to co-opt it for their own purposes, if that makes sense. So like, I don't think it's an inherently bad thing or negative thing or automatically weaponized means, but just something that can be co-opted for those other purposes.
And I will also say creates kind of like this exclusion. Like I'm thinking like I'm out somewhere like meeting up with my friends and they're like, oh, have you seen this thing on TikTok? And I'm like, no, I have no idea what you're talking about. And then they're like, we can't believe you haven't seen this. Like, how are you so out on this topic? And I'm like, I'm sorry, my algorithm is not like yours. Like there's nothing I can do to like what it's feeding me basically. So then I just feel like so outside. I'm like, damn, I'm not in with all the social media stuff.
Kids, there is like an exclusionary feeling that comes when everyone in a room is talking about something and you're like, that has not come up in my feed. And you kind of wonder what they're searching when they're the same age demographic as you. Like, why are you getting this and I am not? And so that is interesting. We have here, Joshua says, I think it's a form of transgression when all the members in a community are doing something. They know it's wrong, strange, it just brings them together. But in the same way, like it can be weird and wacky, but not wrong and still bring them together, I think.
I think I like Kennedy's point too of how that invested users could be more mean about it. I feel like terms like bop or unk and stuff like that are used to be like derogatory towards someone. So it definitely depends on how inclusive they are.
Evan says, I think it's more brain rot than creativity. Most people saying stuff like Ohio, and that's true. I mean, they're 10, right? So it's like they don't really know. But what's fun is they all make it up and then they tell each other what they think it means, and it creates these like new meanings to things, which is not void of meaning. But to Evan's point, is it brain rot or is it like I don't even know if I'd say like the other side of it is creativity. Like I feel like it's like maybe like community bonding versus brain rot. Like what's or maybe it is brain rot and creativity. What do you think?
I definitely think it's brain rot because I'm almost 20 and I still have no idea what half of that stuff means. Like, please tell me what is 6, 7. I don't understand how it's funny, which is like interesting to me because people bond over this and make a whole, meme or joke about it. It doesn't really have any real meaning, I don't think. So that's where I get confused. If anyone in the chat knows what it means, please tell me because I still don't know what it means.
Well, Gen Alpha tried to cancel it over like the January time, but it's now resurfacing. But they have all different meanings when I ask them. So I just try not to. I don't even.
Adults started using it. It wasn't cool anymore, I think. So then they didn't want it. They didn't think it was cool.
Helen says, I think it's closer to exclusion, but usually from the sense of trying to seem better than or know more, especially to older generations. What do you think about that? Like, is it creating divides between generations?
I feel like it definitely is because, like you said, like Gen Alpha and everything like that, they're creating this barrier to where they could be saying these terms to their parents and their parents don't have any idea what they mean. And it could actually be like a slur that they're saying. So I do feel like it does create that barrier, which could also lead to creating language and lingo that they shouldn't be saying.
But I wonder if it could like evolve into like a moment of like bonding too, when you kind of like teach the other 1-year lingo, kind of like if I was to teach my parents, if I knew what 6-7 meant, what it means, and like they would get it too, and then like that would be like a bonding moment for us. I hope I'm not gonna bond over 6-7 with my parents, but like that's the only example I could think of.
These Gen Alpha kids have that nailed down. They can keep that.
I think it's interesting too that some of these like brain rot terms or even just vocal stems, like I know the 1, 2, 3 release them. That one was more, she got famous off a video from a funeral, but then went on to do the reveal for the Super Bowl. So that's why I just think it could be a form of bonding in that way too.
Or the Dr. Pepper girl.
Yeah, the Dr. Pepper one too.
She came up with this crazy song for Dr. Pepper, and I think they paid her $1 million for it and to use it in a commercial. And it was like a 5-second thing where she sings about Dr. Pepper. Like that was totally brain rot. Like she was laying in bed and came up with it. And then Dr. Pepper was like, yes, let's make this into our ad.
These are some of the other numbers, Sarah. Thank you. We'll pass it back to you, Anna.
Okay, so the article also talks about dynamics, like how audiences online aren't just people anymore, but also algorithms and bots, which does influence what spreads. It also mentions weaponized context, where content from different places is intentionally edited or remixed to change its meaning and use. And some examples of that are edits or memes that take clips from different contexts and political misinformation videos. So with that, I want to ask the question, how could strategies that hide or control visibility online be used to spread misinformation or influence people?
I know that this is something that kind of happens is like if there's like police officers who maybe did something not so good and a citizen like starts to film them, they'll play like some type of music that will definitely get like a copyright claim, and we'll have the video taken down just so that that footage like doesn't like air on like social media, because like the music in the background that officer like started to play. So I've seen like that's something I think like with like the controlling the visibility, like they know like, oh, there'll be a copyright infringement on this, meaning it'll get taken down naturally by the website, and this can like hide that footage of like that officer like doing whatever he maybe shouldn't have done.
I think too, I've seen like people make like fake accounts or like impersonating it. It's not just like celebrities, like even like people you follow, you might get a follow from them and it's a fake account. I feel like those can definitely be used. I know that they're used to like spread that misinformation or post links to websites and stuff like that, to either as a crime against the person they're doing it or just to kind of get that traction from their community.
I know the wellness community, like not the ones who are actually promoting good wellness, but like the ones who are like more at the fringes, they use these strategies a lot where they'll like tell you that like sunscreen is really bad for your skin. And then they'll be like, just joking, but they're not. They're trying to, work with the algorithm so that they aren't content banned. So I think people are very, like content creators and audiences are very well aware of how to either maximize visibility or minimize visibility depending on the community that they're a part of. So if they're in a community that is often banned from social media because of their viewpoints or ideologies or like just spreading misinformation, like, you can cure your eyesight without glasses. Like, don't wear your glasses. You're wrecking your eyesight. And like things like this, which like we know scientifically that's not true. Like you're not going to cure my eyesight by me stopping wearing my glasses. But the point is like they use these sort of like coded languages in order to get that information to the people who will appreciate it. Matilda, I saw you lean in. Do you want to jump in?
Yes, I was just gonna say, kind of going back to what we talked about earlier about like reporting people and stuff like that, and like how it usually doesn't do much. It's also because these platforms are like benefiting from a little bit of like controversial content because people are gonna watch it and people are gonna come back to watch it, and the more people they get on the platform, the more money they're gonna make. So like for them, like taking down posts, it's kind of like counterintuitive for their like money making side, like their business side of things. Which is probably a big reason why things are not getting banned, and like accounts that definitely should be banned are not being banned or taken down. So that's just what I was gonna say.
I like the comment too that's brought up saying that platforms censor certain beliefs they don't agree with. I was actually about to bring that up because I definitely feel like depending on the platform, like you have these CEOs and governments controlling what we're seeing. So like they said, like around the time for elections, they can start blocking those things. And I don't know if y'all have seen this, but like on TikTok, there's this thing where it's like you have to block Oracle or this certain account so you actually get these videos in your feed, because like we're not seeing videos of news happening, but that's because we're being kind of blocked from seeing that information.
Yeah, definitely. And going back to what we were saying about the misinformation, commenter Joshua said, AI deepfakes are making it easier to spread misinformation, which I can definitely agree with some personal stories. I'll get into that. But the whole idea of spreading that misinformation can be harmful because it also can lead people to getting a false sense of reassurance by maybe a brand or a creator when it's not even that creator making that. For example, somebody I know was scrolling on TikTok and they got an ad for these Justin Bieber sunglasses, and obviously Justin Bieber is very famous, probably someone you can trust, like, hey, I want his glasses, blah blah blah. They go to his link, looks totally real, just like him, everything looks super official. They buy these glasses, right? A couple days go by, they get another charge. Not even, nope, I didn't pay for that. And so then this happens and they're like, well, I just bought these glasses, they're still not here, and I'm getting charged for other random stuff. What turned out happening was that wasn't even Justin Bieber's account. It had nothing to do with him. It was a complete fake account with all these fake generated videos, fake brand endorsements. And I think, with all this AI stuff coming out, it's making it a lot easier for these harmful things to happen. You can potentially, with scams and stuff, it can really lead to just this bad side of the internet that, especially with young people not really knowing, and older people like my grandpa, I don't even want to talk about that, but he's been scammed, and I just think it creates a super harmful environment, especially being online. If you don't really know what to trust, you just kind of see what you see and you're like, oh, I know that person. So definitely can be harmful.
I fell for a Dick's Sporting Good ad because it looked so real. Like they are getting so hard to tell. Like on Instagram, it was just in between stories, like an ad, and it's such like a normal place for those ads to be. Like these like fake things are appearing in our like in our spaces where we're so used to seeing them anyway. So like you don't even think twice whether it's real or not because you're so used to seeing it there anyway. So it's really easy to fall for those things.
We've heard so many stories on these shows about people falling for it, especially like their parents and grandparents. Anna, do you want to wrap that up and then pass it over to Brennan for the newsworthy example?
Yes. So because of these conditions and dynamics in cultures of refracted publics, creators actively use strategies such as hashtags, clickbait, and self-amplification to control how their content spreads and who sees it. So while social media might be presented as a public space, a lot of what we see on our feeds is actually being strategically shaped by others. And with that, I'll pass it over to Brennan.
Thanks, Anna. So moving on, I want to talk about a story that I'm pretty sure everyone here knows about. The TikTok ban that was set to happen back in 2025. Now, this story is really interesting because it's not just about this one app. It's about how platforms create these entire cultures that if they're taken down, it can really ruin a lot of people's lives or make people upset. And it kind of talks about what happens when a platform is taken away. A quick background, if you don't know, US lawmakers have been pushing for TikTok to either be sold to an American company or face a ban, mainly over concerns about data privacy and national security. But what makes this a big deal is the number of people affected. TikTok has over 100 million users in the US. And for a lot of them, it's not just entertainment. It's kind of how they communicate, make money, and build communities. So how does this tie into platforms and publics? TikTok has created a very specific type of public. I feel like it's fast, trend-based, and driven by the algorithm. And I think it's kind of what created the short form videos to become so popular. People who use these TikToks are really used to these short form videos, these viral sounds, and highly personalized feeds. And if TikTok disappears, that public doesn't just disappear, but it gets forced onto other platforms like Instagram Reels or YouTube Shorts. But here's the thing, those platforms are different. The culture is different, the algorithm is different, and the audience expectations are different. So users have to adapt. Another important part of the story is how it affects creators financially. A lot of people rely on TikTok for income through brand deals, views, and promotions. If the platform goes away, they don't automatically get the same audience somewhere else. They have to rebuild their public, which takes some time, and sometimes they never fully recover. So this shows how publics aren't just social, they're also economic. And then there's the audience side, which I kind of went into. Users build communities on TikTok, whether it's fitness, comedy, politics, or even really niche interests. And if the platform disappears, those communities kind of get fragmented. People might not find each other again in the same way on the other platforms. So it's really not just losing an app, it's kind of losing a space where you can share creative ideas. And going back to kind of the brand stuff, if it's like you randomly get your job, you randomly get fired, which for some people, when they completely rely financially on TikTok with brand deals, and then it gets banned, that can really ruin a lot of people's lives, because then they're struggling, like, what do I do? Can I start posting elsewhere? And then sometimes their content doesn't pick back up on other feeds. And then if you put all your hope in, these online publics and they get shut down, then you're stuck thinking, what am I going to do? So it kind of makes you think, how are we in control of social media, or are the platforms we're on controlling how we interact with each other and kind of what we see? I'm going to turn it over to the chat now. How did the TikTok ban affect you with it and when it was happening? And how did you guys feel about it? If you can type a quick chat about it, I'll get back to it. And then Victoria, Cam, Anna, do you guys have any thoughts? How did you guys feel about the whole TikTok ban situation?
So I never actually deleted TikTok because I kind of was skeptical about if it would actually last. But I know a lot of especially me and a lot of my friends, we use TikTok as a search engine. So we don't necessarily use Google. So if I want to look for a very specific video, a very specific recipe, if it needs to be gluten-free and also not have flour and also not have baking powder, I can go to TikTok and look it up and it'll pop up. Same with if I'm wanting to learn how to do a hobby, I can go and I can look up crocheting tutorials on TikTok. And so I know so many people that use it as a search engine. And so definitely, if I had deleted it, which I still haven't deleted it, I would probably miss out on that, because I feel like, for me at least, Google is not as specific as I need it to be. And Instagram, you can't necessarily search for a very specific video the same way you can on TikTok.
I also see the comment that says they went straight to Red Note. I noticed a lot of people actually went straight to Red Note. I didn't really know what it was. I never downloaded it because I feel like it's a little hard, especially going from a TikTok, what is so well known, to switch to something. I like to have a little more information before I go into it. But I know with me personally, at first it didn't really affect me because I just went to Instagram Reels, which I know it's not the same. But now that I think about it, I use it a lot to understand current events, especially how you can see worldwide and international, getting into those resources as well.
I think it's so amazing how many people migrated to Red Note. We were down for 6 hours, 9 hours? We were not down very long. So Red Note is not ByteDance, it's not Douyin, but it is another Chinese-based social media app, and more than 700,000 US users downloaded Red Note in those 2 days during the TikTok ban. And it's not like it's in English. Like, people were willing to go there and, consume content in other languages that they likely were not able to engage with. So why? Obviously, they felt like there was a community there, and or it was like some sort of a protest, but like, why? Evan, I want you to answer in the chat. I realized if I could bring you up to the stage right now, I would, because I'm so curious about that migration and that time period. But did anyone else hear about their friends doing this or hear about this situation? Matilda, it looks like you're leaning in. You're ready.
No, I just had this thought about, like, do you remember when it happened, how it was so different for different people? Like, for some people, it shut down right in the morning, and some people, like, I think mine was like midday, it just like disappeared. And then like some people could like keep using it almost the whole time. And I'm like, how is it so different for different people? So that's just like what like popped into my head when we started talking about this, how like there's a ban, but it didn't really affect everybody at the same time, which I thought was so crazy.
And then weren't people like going to buy old iPhones because they wanted to make sure that they'd have the app downloaded? It was like, it was very, very interesting. But on your exact note there, Matilda, like, other people were like, oh, I can still get into my app, where I had the app, but like if I logged in, I had that like very fun, like government issued, like, you cannot see this right now type kind of message.
I think Evan responded to your question too in the chat. He said,
oh, good.
He didn't understand anything. It was all in Chinese.
I just remember thinking, like, if people are willing to go consume Mandarin and Cantonese content because they like the format and they're like protesting in the US taking TikTok away so much, like that says something, right? Like, that says something about the kind of community they had built there and wanted to maintain. And I was kind of wondering, like, would that have changed the app so that it was like multilingual, and like all of a sudden you'd have like this new TikTok growing? It's interesting. Oh yeah, I'm McKenna, yes, but I'm not going to post that comment.
I think Helen has a good point too about all those saved videos and everything that we had on there. I think too, like, drafts. I don't know how many people actually like made videos or anything, but all those drafts were also going to be gone. So if you didn't save them, I know like Snapchat memories, how you have to like pay and stuff for all of that now. So I'm like, losing those drafts was also like very significant.
I had a grad student who had all of her work saved in the TikTok folders, and she was so stressed. She's like, that's my whole master's thesis right there. So she was like trying to download everything in short order, which, must have been very stressful for her.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of good points in the comment section. A lot of good points made here. I'm going to send it over to Victoria now with the wrap up kind of.
Yeah, so basically throughout this whole show, we kind of covered how the digital public spaces are a double-edged sword. There's good and there's bad. Our discussion on platforms, publics, and anti-publics and reflected publics highlighted the main concern: are we users or are we being used? Whether it's a coded language or the algorithmic imaginary shaping our identities, the line between harmless internet culture and harmful anti-public behavior is thinner than ever. We talked about political misinformation and how certain websites might ban certain people for political opinions, videos, scams with younger and older people. I know Brennan talked a little bit about that. How there's sometimes edits, clipped words, and as Anna said earlier, that things are always being shaped to form others' opinions, whether or not it's correct or if it's false. We talked about how our algorithms and how they influence us, and what is the line between harmless internet culture and harmful anti-public behavior, and the intentional spreading of harmful ideologies. So with this in mind, I do have a little challenge for everyone viewing. The next time you're scrolling and you see a hot topic or a viral trend, don't just hit like. Ask yourself, is this a public space built for connection or a corporate environment built for your data? I want you to take 1 minute today to step outside of your echo chamber and search for something completely different. Break your own algorithm and reclaim a bit of your digital autonomy. I want to thank you guys so much for joining in this live. It has been so much fun talking about platforms and publics with you guys, and thank you.
Woohoo! I I love the call to action at the end there. I think that's something that we could all benefit from, and I will take you up on that. What an outstanding job. Let's give Agency 7 a big round of applause. If you're in the comments, you can do so through the comments. But yeah, really great work, outstanding teamwork, and just, honestly, an outstanding show. I enjoyed every minute of it. I had fun the whole way through. I know you were a little nervous. Did you settle? Was it fun? Did you have a good time? Yeah, see, it happens. You settle in and it becomes a good conversation. So overall, I just thought outstanding teamwork, outstanding conversations, really great content. So thank you so much for that. Matilda?
Yes, good job. This was a really fun conversation. Great teamwork, like Dr. Stewart said. It was, really fun. I really hope you enjoyed it. I could tell that everybody was nervous in the beginning. Me too. This was the first time we were back this spring, so I was a little nervous. But it really settled, and I could tell you were enjoying it. So I'm really glad. Good job.
So well done. Very proud of all of you. For everyone who's watching in the comments, in the audience, thank you for the comments, the questions, the encouragement. They were all very much appreciated and noticed. Like, wonderful. I think we had probably the best audience that we've ever had in this afternoon section. And I say this, this is the end of year 3 of doing these. So you are an outstanding audience. And if you just keep that up throughout the whole semester, the energy will be outstanding on these shows. So thank you for that. We do have some deadlines, right? Or are we done?
Yes, deadlines. Please do your team evaluations for the content assignment, but that was due yesterday. Just do that one and you should be good for now.
Okay, fabulous. We're looking forward to seeing those.
And obviously the engagement from the show. That's due tomorrow.
Yes.
Most important.
Yes, of course. But we are really excited to see those content assignments coming in and excited to look through them. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful rest of your week. We are back in class just like normal on Monday, and then we're live again on Wednesday with Agency 9. I hope I got the number right, but Agency 9 to talk about the nested precarities of creative labor, which really builds really nicely off of some of the points that Brennan had brought in that final section. So have a wonderful day. Try to go get outside. It is so nice out. Have a wonderful day. Bye, everyone.